So, before we get started with this segment, I want to say that I absolutely condemn all violence in all forms. I'm a peacenik. I do not approve of any form of violence. I think all war and violence is wrong. So, to start this story, there was an attack in Israel last week, a terror attack by a man who was identified as being Palestinian. He shot and killed 5 Israeli Jews before he was killed by police. This is an unspeakable horror, a terrible tragedy, and 5 people don't get to go back to their families at the end of the day. And I really wish that that wasn't the case. But if that was the end of the story, it would be easy just to see this as a blind act of terror that is, unspeakable and unexplainable and tragic. And by the way, it is tragic. It is unspeakable. But when you look at the situation that the Palestinians have been put in, it sometimes makes it more understandable why they may choose violence. I'm a firm believer that most people do not choose violence as their first way of fighting back. I believe that people are likely, if they feel that they are empowered to be peaceful in their resistance, that they will do that first. If for no other reason, then it is safer for them to appeal to the powers that be by nonviolent means than by violent means. So from the very outset, I believe that people are inclined to use nonviolence resistance first to a situation to which they don't approve. As I've mentioned last week on the show, Israel is executing an apartheid against the Palestinian people and Israeli Arabs. And for many, many years, Palestinians have protested the things that Israel has done. They have picketed, they have, held signs, they have tried to file lawsuits. They've tried to do things as much as possible in peaceful means. And I encourage all oppressed people to go through this process, to try as much as possible to change the wrongs in their life by peaceful means. However, after doing that for so long, some people will get frustrated with the lack of movement. And they will think that, well, if peace didn't work, if nonviolence didn't work, violence becomes the solution. And I never want to be in a situation where that looks like the best solution, because truthfully, it's not. There's no good reason. That's coming along. There's no good reason why you should revert to violence. Because truthfully, violence is almost always counterproductive. Unless you can lead a revolution that is so large and so well funded and so well organized and so well armed that you can actively displace your oppressors, violence is going to lead to further repression. And more disadvantageous to the cause that you're fighting for, when the state is reacting to violence, the repression of the state then looks more justified. So you can actually be counterproductive in your doing of violence. And so, truthfully, I don't think this terror attack in Israel is going to change anything in Israel for the Palestinians. In fact, I know it's not going to. It is going to make people who are most likely innocent lose the ability to live their lives, which is terrible. But when we look at state violence, apartheid is state violence, by the way. When we look at state violence against a people and how long it's been going on, it is unfortunate yet not surprising that some people would in their desperation, in their frustration, turn to senseless, useless, violent, hateful acts. And so I want to say again that I feel just terrible for the 5 people who were killed. May their memories always be for a blessing. May their families be okay. I pray for them. And I also pray for the family of the Palestinian man who was killed in the terror attack. They're missing someone too. And this violence is only going to beget more violence. It's not going to make the situation any better for the Palestinians, and it's certainly not going to make it any better for the Jews. And I do believe that a peaceful solution is possible. And I never want to be in a position where I feel like I have to say that violence is the answer, because I just don't believe that for the most part. But, looking at it objectively as I can, it becomes difficult to look at a situation like that and say that this act of violence was random, that it had nothing to do with anything, that it was unprovoked, that it wasn't reactive in some way. And when you think about the reality of what's going on in Israel and Palestine, it becomes very easy to see why someone might revert to a senseless act like this. So as we continue as outsiders, and even if you're watching this and you're in Israel, you're in Palestine, as insiders too, it looks difficult to get to a peaceful solution, to get to a settlement. And there are lots of factors working against that. I get that. I really do. But Israelis committing violence against Palestinians and Palestinians committing violence against Israelis doesn't actually get you any closer to that. It actually tears it farther away. For everyone killed in a terrorist attack, you set the process of peace back that much farther. And a process that is moving slow enough as it is. So, this is really hard for me because I love the state of Israel and I want there to be peace there. And I believe that Jews and Christians and Palestinians and Arabs and everyone who claims a different identity under that in that land can live together peacefully. I really do believe that there can be, it doesn't have to be named Israel, it doesn't have to be named Palestine. You could call it something else, but that land is important to so many people. It can be a peaceful place. There are peaceful ways, democratic ways to commit to the governance of places with multiple cultures. Switzerland and Belgium are great examples of places where this is possible, and it's been proven over decades, centuries even. Israel can be a place of peace, but there has to be active work on that side from the Israeli side and the Palestinian side together. And state violence is violence too. The state has to remove its boot from the necks of the Palestinian people, the Arab people as well. All sides must commit to nonviolence. They must commit actively to peace. And then truly, one day, I truly believe there can be peace. Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you liked it, throw a like on it, share with your friends, and subscribe for more of our content. You can also find all of our videos and clips on youtube.com. Just search Let Them Eat Bread and you'll find all of our content. Alright guys, see you next time. Bye for now.